In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use R and AI to extract information from a lot of PDFs. And we're going to do this in two steps. In the first step, we're going to use an AI chatbot like ChatGPT or Mistral AI to generate PDF documents that we can later process. And that's exactly what we'll do in step 2, namely we'll take these PDF files and extract information automatically using another AI chat. And I say AI chat, but what I mean here is that we do not take the content of the PDF files and stick that into ChatGPT like the user interface, but we do all of this programmatically from within R. And in my Quarto file, I've already set up the stuff that we need for this. First, I've used the .env package to load my environment variables, which contains the API keys that I need for stuff like ChatGPT or Mistral AI or Anthropic. An .env file looks something like this, where you specify some key name, set an equal sign, and then throw in the code that the tool gives you that you use. So if you use ChatGPT from OpenAI, you will have to register with OpenAI, get an API key from there, and this will let you talk with the API. But you don't have to figure out how to talk to an API. You can just use my Tidy Chat Models package, which allows you to talk to all kinds of different chat models through a unified interface. Right now it's only available on GitHub, so if you want to install it, you just have to use the DevTools package and call the install GitHub function to load the package from the repository that I have set up for this. Okay, so once you've executed this, you are ready to go to create the PDF files that we want. And the first thing you need to do is to create a chat. In there, you specify the vendor that you want to use. In my case, I want to use Mistral AI, just so that I don't always just use ChatGPT, but also some other AI models. And to authenticate with Mistral AI, I will have to use my API key, which I have extracted from my environment variable, which I have set up, which is not the same one that I've showed you here, but a different one so that I don't have to keep regenerating API keys whenever I do a video. So if you want to use an environment variable after loading it, you can just use the name that you have specified and stick it into the sys.getEnv function and use the argument for the API key name. And if you execute this, you will get a chat object, which just shows you right now you want to use the Mistral chat engine and you don't have any messages in there. Next, we can take this chat object and pass it to the add model function to specify what kind of chat model we want to use. For example, with ChatGPT, there is ChatGPT 3.5 and ChatGPT 4 and some other versions of this. And the same thing is true with Mistral. There we'll just use a small model, namely Mistral Small Latest. That's the name. You just have to look into the API documentation to figure out what kind of models are available. And then we can set some parameters. This step is totally optional, but since I want to use this chat to generate PDF documents, I want this AI to be sort of more creative, and that's why I set the temperature to something which is closer to 1. If you want the AI to stick very closely to your instructions, you just have to use a temperature that is closer to 0. But again, this step is very optional. But if you execute all of this, you will see that you have added the model and the parameters to your chat. Now it comes time to actually throw in some messages into your chat. And the first message that you often set is a system message. So you use the add message function and specify that you want to set a system message. And in there, you specify the message that you want to use as a system message. And there you throw in the instructions that you want your AI to fulfill. In this case, you write something like you write 500-word reviews for fictitious products from fictitious companies. You will mention the following things in each review. This is just so that we have something to extract later on. So let's just say that it needs to mention the name of the company, the name of a product, a rating up to 5 stars, ways to improve the product, and what you find particularly helpful from the product. And also, I want to make sure that all of these things are given in an unstructured way inside of the text, and it doesn't start with some header-like structure that says review for and then the product, because this would be kind of cheating. It would be easy to extract that without AI. We really want to have an unstructured document here so that we can practice extracting specific informations from PDF documents using AI. So once you have that in there, you can execute this part again and you see that there's one more message in there now. So now comes the time to add a user message so that the AI knows what it needs to do. And in the user message, you can just write in what the thing is supposed to do. In this case, it's just write a fictitious review for a tech toy. This is kind of the only variable thing we want to have here. We want to specify what kind of product is this for. And if you execute all of this, you will see that there are 2 messages now, but all of this didn't execute any chat, any code, any whatever. Nothing right now happened. It's just a collection of stuff you want to do. What you want to do next is to actually perform the chat so that you send your data to Mistral AI and get a response back from the AI. And that's exactly where perform chat comes in. Once you execute this, your data will get sent to Mistral AI and it will come back with another message appended to it. And since I want to use this result, I will save this into a variable. Let's call it chat. And then let's execute this. This may take a couple of seconds and it will actually cost you money because you will pay for every token that this AI model generates. But here it will probably not be anything expensive. It will not even be 5 cents or so. Only if you execute this a couple of times, you will actually ramp up some costs. But again, these kind of short messages should be fine. Now, if we look at our variable, we see that there are 3 messages now. And what we can do now is to take our chat and then pass it to the extract chat function. This will put the full chat into our console. So right now you see here our system message, then you see our user message, and then you see an assistant message that is basically what the AI replied. So here it made up a quite long text about some product from, let's check. Okay, I guess the company name is this thing. However, don't know how the AI came up with that name, but that's just what we have. And then there's a lot of stuff in there. It doesn't matter for our use cases what the actual content is, as long as we are sure that the stuff that we have mentioned here is actually in there. So let's try to make sure that all of these things are in there. So I've mentioned that this is the company name, I believe, but this is actually the name of the product, if I read this correctly, and the company name is the first part of that. So we have the first 2 things already. Let's check if there is a star review somewhere in there. Yep, there's a rating of 4.5 out of 5 stars. That's good. Ways to improve the product. It says something here that the battery life could use some improvement. So that is in there. And what you find particularly helpful from the product. Well, it says here what truly sets the QubiBot apart is its impressive array of sensors and capabilities. So that part is in there too. So I guess the system message worked and it stuck to our instructions. And that way we can generate a bunch of product reviews, which is great because now we can wrap a function around all of this part here and now create PDF files that contain a bunch of reviews. And then let's check if AI can also extract the stuff that we have mentioned here. But before we wrap this into a function, we actually need to figure out how to extract the assistant message from the console. Right now, everything is just in the console. But if you set silent to true, this will actually not print anything in the console, at least not the chat itself, but instead it will return a tibble. Actually, this extract chat function returns a tibble in any case. It's just when it prints into the console, the tibble that is returned is just returned invisibly. So it will work if you save this extract chat result into a variable, and then the variable will be filled. But if you set silent to true, it will probably be more obvious. So let's just go with this here. And then from the tibble, we can extract the message column, and from there we can extract the third entry. So this gives us a blueprint for what we need to do to create a function that creates a fake product. So let's copy all of this, write a function. Let's call it product review. And as an argument, we'll use product. And then we can throw in the code that we've used before into this function. Let's just align this a little bit nicer. And now we also have to use this argument product. So instead of this part here, let us just use the glue function and replace this part here with what we stick into the function. So now that we have a function, we can use this to iterate over different product ideas. So let's just create a tibble, and in there, let's set up a column called product. And in that column, we can just fill in our product idea, like a bad tech gadget, a glorious beauty product, a kid's toy that I bought as a present for my kids, which was really fun, but fell apart after one day, and then an okay-ish newsletter subscription. All of these things will get passed to our function product review and will be used inside of our user message. So that's the idea of this. So we actually have to iterate over our function, and that's where a new column comes in that we create by iterating with the map character function. And in there, we iterate over the things that are in our product column, and we use the product review function to iterate over these things. So all of this means is that all these things here, they get sticked into the product review function, and the result is saved into the new column. And since I want to use these results later on, let's save this into a new variable. Let's call this review stat. And then we can execute all of this, and this will take a while because this will make a couple of requests to Mistral AI to generate a review for all of these things we've mentioned. Oh, by the way, if you find this video useful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button, because creating this package and making a video about these kind of use cases, it's a lot of work and I appreciate a thumbs up. So thank you for that, and now let's get back to the video. Now that this has finished, we can look at our Tibble, and we see here our product column, and then here's a review. We can't really see a thing, so let's look at one specific thing. Let's take this data set, pass it to the plug function, get the review column, and from there use the first element, and this will give us a text that looks like this. If we want to look at it like it is formatted properly, let's pass it to the cat function, and then we can also see stuff like line breaks and so on. In the output we've seen before, these line breaks are encoded as the special line breaks characters. Anyways, so that's our text for these reviews. Let's save these into a PDF file just so that we can be sure that we can extract the stuff later on from PDFs. That's our use case, our fictitious use case. And then we can pass the content from these PDF files to a new chat to extract information. So let us create a new code chunk that will actually generate the PDF files using the content from this Tibble here. I don't want to go into too many details about how these PDFs are generated. I feel like this is only a tangential topic in this video, but still I'll go through the code quickly so that you get the gist of it at least. So what we need to do is to iterate over the review column here, and there is the content. And for each of those entries in that column, we need to create a new PDF document. For that, we'll use the walk_to function, which will iterate over the column that I've just mentioned, and also over the vector of numbers from 1 to 4. In this vector, there's nothing but the numbers 1 to 4, so that I can create files with the file names review1, review2, and so on. So that's why we need two things to iterate over. And the way this works, just like with the map function, is to use a function. Let's just create a new one. And in that function, we'll use the writeLines function to fill a temporary document with the header that a Quarto file, or in this case an RMD file, usually has. And then we fill it with the content x, which is the first argument of the function that we just created. And this first argument is filled with the stuff that comes from the review column. And once we have filled the content that we want to write into the file, we also need to save this into a temporary file. Let's call it review RMD. And to make this RMD file into a PDF document, we'll have to use the Quarto package and use Quarto render to render this temporary file that we've just created. And there we can specify the output format, which should be a PDF file, and the name of that file should be review1, review2, review3, and so on. And these numbers 1, 2, 3 come from the second argument of our function. So that's the gist of the function. And once we execute this, we can see that right now everything starts to render. All of these documents will get produced. And you can see in my file pane that the files review 1, 2, 3, and 4 get produced. There was even review 4 2 times. I've just refreshed this and now it's gone. Don't know what RStudio's problem was there. But in any case, these are the 4 PDF files that we have here. And you can see here that this is how these review files look. So let's imagine that these are the PDF files that we need to work through to extract information from all of these files. That's our use case, keep that in mind. And the way to read in the content from PDF files is via using the PDF tools package. So let's just create a new code chunk in here. And in there, I'm just going to use the PDF text function from the PDF tools package, fill it with one of the file names. And this apparently will give me an error because I haven't installed that package yet on this R project. So let me just throw this in there real quick. It will install. And once it is done, via the power of video editing, should be fast. And now it's there. I hope this was really fast in the video. For me, I had to wait a couple of seconds, which was annoying, but that's just the process of recording a video. Sometimes unexpected things happen. In any case, now we can read in this thing here, and we can see that it actually gives us the vector of length 2. And the reason for that is because our PDF file has 2 pages, and we see here the text for each of the pages, but our functions from before, namely the one to add messages, it can only work with single text and not a vector full of text. So let's just throw all of this together using paste 0 and the collapse function, and now everything is one entry. As you probably noticed, this isn't really nicely formatted, but it doesn't matter. We will process this with AI, so hopefully the AI can ignore that this is not the nicest format and just get the right content out of this. Probably for a machine, this is still very legible. So if we wanted to, we could save this stuff into a new variable. Let's call this PDF text. And then we could repeat our workflow from before and just change the system message and maybe the parameters or the model if we want. So let's just copy this part from here. We can also extract this part here with the chat extraction. And now let's make a couple of changes. One strength of this tidy chat models package is that you can easily switch to different AI models. So for example, if I don't want to use Mistral in this case, but something else, I can put in a different vendor. Right now, if you look into the documentation of this package, you will see that it's OpenAI, Mistral, Anthropic, and Ollama are supported. Here I want to use Anthropic. That is because Anthropic, at the time of recording this video, is really hyped. The Claude 3 model is supposed to be really great and can even compete with GPT-4 and sometimes even surpass this. So it's really hyped right now. So why not use the full computational AI power that we have to extract information from our PDFs? This also means that we need to use a different key because every vendor has a different API key. In my case, I need to use the one from Anthropic. And I also need to use a model that is available in Anthropic. In this case, one of those models is called Claude 3 Sonnet. I don't think it's even the largest one. I think Claude 3 Opus is even larger and stronger, but let's just go with this one here. This will hopefully cost me less money, even though it's still just a couple of cents. But anyway, if this is enough, then I don't need to spend more money than I have to. As for the temperature parameter, we want to have this model stick really close to what is in the PDF. So let's just set this to something like 0.2. And for this Anthropic vendor, a required parameter is actually the maximum amount of tokens. So here, let's just say it shall at most return 1000 tokens, which means that the returned message can only be so long as to 1000 tokens should be enough for the stuff that we want to do here. And then we can modify the system message. Let's first get rid of the old message here. And here we set the stage for this AI bot. So we say you are an AI system that excels at extracting relevant information from product reviews. In the following, the user will give you the text of a product review and you will extract the following information. And then we'll just say company. We'll use a bit of placeholder text to say insert name here. And then we do the same thing for product, for rating as well. We also want to make sure that the rating gets stars appended to it at the end. And then we can also say ways to improve. That stuff is also supposed to be mentioned. Here we say insert a short summary in at most 2 sentences. And then we do the same thing for the helpful product features. And then for the user message, we can just use the PDF text that we have extracted from the PDF here. So we could save some space here. Since this is only one argument, no reason to put it onto a new line. But in any case, this is how we can really easily change to a different chat vendor, have to insert a different API key, have to also insert a different model, tweak some parameters and the message, but the interface is always the same. If you have to use the API requests, then you will have to figure out what's the URL for this vendor and so on. It's a bit complicated, but here we have one user interface, which I think is nice, which is why I've created this package. But in any case, let us test this here, and you can see that we get Anthropic requires an API version back. So in the create chat function, we can see here that API versions can be given, and documentation says, yeah, well, we need that for Anthropic. All right, so let's put this in there. So we can put in an API version. These are things you will have to extract from the API documentation of the vendor, in this case from Anthropic. Links to that is in my blog post for this video, which you can find in the description. And in the future, I plan to give you more functions that can list all of the available arguments for API versions and add model and so on. But for now, you will have to extract these things on your own from the API documentation. In any case, we can now make a request. And here it says unauthorized, which is a telltale sign that something is wrong with the API key. And I've actually misspelled Anthropic. So now if I use the correct key, now I don't get an unauthorized back and I actually get the message back. And here we actually get the wrong message back because we used the chat from before. We haven't actually saved this in a new variable. So let's call this chat. And now if we re-execute this, we should get a different message back. And you can see here that it seems to have returned the right thing. Let's pass this to the cat function again to see line breaks. And here it was company Technoblender, product smartwatch 3000, rating 2 stars, ways to improve, and helpful product features. We could check with the reviews data with this part here if this thing is correct. It seems that smartwatch 3000 was the correct name. Let's check for the star rating. It's a disappointing 2 out of 5 stars. So it seems to have done a correct job. I won't check the other results for this video. It's enough that it works. You may have to do some due diligence checks depending on your case later on. But here you can see that this works in principle. So let us take all of this code and wrap this into a function so that we can do this for multiple PDFs. So actually we need to get this code here, and then let's create a new function and call it extract PDF information. As an argument, we'll use PDF file, and then we can throw in our code from before. And here we need to replace the hard-coded PDF name with the PDF file argument. And now we can iterate over all things from our tibble, just like we've done before. So let us create a tibble where we first create a column called PDF file. And in there, we stick together parts for the file names. In this case, it's review, the number, and then .pdf. So we'll get review 1, review 2, and so on. And then we iterate over this new column using the map character function again, and we iterate over the PDF file column, and we use our new function to iterate over these entries here. And then we can save this into a new variable, execute all of this, and then all of these things will get sent to Anthropic, and Anthropic will send the chat messages back. And we see here that we got an error in the first iteration. And the reason for that is because we still print to the console instead of returning this value here. So let's remove the cat and restart this thing, and now it should work fine. Now everything finished. Let's check this data set, and we see here that for all of these, and we can see here that everything in the summary column is filled. So let's do a bit of data cleaning to see what we got in here. Let's make some room and then stick in our data set. And then we can pass this to the separate wider delimited function, which uses a delimiter to split up a column, in this case the summary column, using a specific delimiter. So let's say that we want to target the summary column as a delimiter. We'll use these double line breaks that are in here, and then we have to specify names for all of the columns that will be generated. So let's set the names, and we'll call these columns company, product, rating, improvement potential, and helpful features. And then if we execute this, we see that everything gets split, which is nice, but these columns still contain the information about what they contain. So for company, it says company colon, and here it says product, here it says ways to improve. That's a bit annoying, so let's remove this part. So let's pass this to the mutate function, and with the across function, we can target all columns between company and the helpful features. And here we have to specify a function that we want to use to target all of these columns. So let's create a function that uses the string remove all function, where we stick in the argument of the function that we created into the string remove all function, and we specify that we want to remove company or product or rating or ways to improve or helpful features. And with that, we have removed all of these things. Let me make some more room here so that the table is wider. And then we can see at least the company and the product column a little bit better. The rating looks also fine. And for the other columns, we'll probably have to extract these things to see them fully. Or we could probably save this into a new variable. Let's call this summary cleaned. Save this in there. And then by clicking F2, we can open up the inspector here and we see a bit more. But in any case, this completes our video. You have seen how to use AI through the Tidy Chat Models package to extract information from PDF files. In this case, we have also used this package and AI to create the PDF files, but in a real world scenario, you probably have the PDF files already and just need to work on the extraction part, but still has made it possible to show you how easy it is to switch between models for different kind of use cases if that's what you want to do. If you want to get more information on the Tidy Chat Models package, check out the other video that I've made about this package, or check out the GitHub page or the documentation page that are online. Links for all of this will be in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, and you may also enjoy this Web Development for R series, where I help R users get better with web development technologies that are helpful in all kinds of projects. For example, when you build a Shiny app, Or if data visualization is your thing, you can check out this playlist where I show you how to create elaborate charts with ggplot. So thank you for watching and I will see you next time.